I promised we're going to get to CNN to talk a little bit more about gas prices, specifically oil prices that fell sharply today after a pause in fighting between the U.S. and Iran. Now, we've seen this before, but this comes after weeks of escalating tensions that helped drive oil and gas prices higher. Michael Yoshida, going to bring him in now, joining us live with what's causing the market to move and what it could mean for drivers this summer. Michael, not much left, but still, folks want to get in some summer trips still, I'm sure.
Hey, good afternoon, Colin. Yeah, this is a pattern we've seen before, right? An opening for diplomacy. We see those oil prices drop. And while this latest pause is giving the markets a chance to breathe, the real question and the test here is whether it can last long enough to help bring some relief to drivers at the pump.
Oil prices tumbled Monday, and one of the biggest single-day drops since late May.
We're really experiencing kind of the oil market roller coaster ride of 2026.
For months, oil markets have used any sign of good news as a reason for prices to fall. Optimism that's kept crude oil prices from soaring. The recent ceasefire also helped, allowing hundreds of millions of barrels to escape the Strait of Hormuz. But shipping traffic has again slowed to a trickle, and the market's resilience may be starting to fade.
In the last couple of weeks, the fighting flared again. We saw oil prices above $100 a barrel last week, and that's an indication that inventories are becoming very tight, and the market has these concerns.
The big question now, if the conflict continues, how long can stockpiles keep demand low? China has been leaning on reserves built up before the war. The U.S. and other countries have tapped emergency supplies too.
We can keep it up for a matter of a few more months, but as those inventories drain, that means that the cushion for a future oil market supply disruption is very thin.
So if demand picks back up while supplies remain tight, drivers could be in for a rough end to the summer. As of Monday, AAA says regular gas averaged $4.11 a gallon nationwide, up 23 cents from a month ago and more than $1 higher than before the war.
Americans probably, at least for now, may not see much of a drop in gasoline prices because while oil is dropping significantly, it's only the cost of oil dropping, whereas gasoline and diesel fuel not seeing much of a drop yet.
And experts say there's another wild card at play here as well. Even if the Strait of Hormuz does eventually reopen, any new toll payments could still influence and impact supply and prices. That's because those new costs could impact insurance and whether those shipping companies even want to go back to sending their ships through the strait. Colin?
And Michael, quickly, you mentioned countries have been relying on their oil reserves. How much longer can that help keep prices from climbing?
Yeah, so those we spoke with say this really is almost a race against time for the oil market. When you talk about those reserves, you look around the world, they really were at historic highs before this war, but they've really, across, again, the globe, tumbled by some 1.3 billion barrels since the spring. So if you talk about the U.S., we obviously have the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. That's been drawn down by some 116 million barrels since the spring, reaching its lowest level since 1983. You also bring in China, which has really helped pull back on the demand side of things around the world by relying heavily on its own stockpiles of oil. Not entirely clear how much longer they can keep doing that, but some experts say maybe only a few more months. So again, that low demand, because everyone is relying on their own stockpiles for right now, that is helping keep these prices relatively low, but potentially they can maybe only do that for a few more months. And then if we do see those demand skyrocket along with supply issues from the Strait of Hormuz, that's where we could really see those prices start to rise and maybe even soar later this year.
All right, Michael Yoshida reporting for us. Some uncertainty still ahead of us. Michael, thank you so much.
Yep.